Good morning, welcome back to the channel. Today, 13th of February, and today we're going to be looking at the process of creating content using various different tools, and we're going to test the quality of these. And the way that we're going to do that is by inputting the content that each tool generates and then basically testing them against each other. So the tools that I've got lined up for this, I'm trying to think of a way of doing it so that it was as impartial as possible. I don't have a Surfer SEO account, so we can't include that. But what I've got is Page Optimizer Pro. We've got Neuronwriter. We've got various GPTs in ChatGPT. I couldn't find the ones that I've been using historically. They've disappeared. Maybe it's this one of them. There we go. So we've got Income Stream Surfers SEO content. We've got long form article writer by Mohammed Talha. And then we've got for the SEO optimized article including FAQs. So that is the selection. And we're going to use the same process for each of these. So we've got this one from Mohammed Talha, and then I was going to do SEO Co-Pilot, which is by Josh Brzezinski. So I was going to basically go through a whole keyword discovery process with this as well. And so what I will do is because what I'm going to try and do is build the foundational keywords. So basically I'm going to get this running because this process will take a few minutes, and then if we get the ChatGPT going, so what is the keyword? So what it's going to ask me is a series of questions. But the purpose of this exercise is to compare the content at the end when it's completed. Detailed article about solar panels. Consider it pillar content for a website. So the process that we're going to go through, wow, that's pretty quick. No messing around there. Long form article about solar panels. Right, so we've got two of these running. And then what we're going to do is if I get this running, so I need to run a new query. So basically the way that Neuronwriter works is it will basically runs a search. It finds the top 10 for the SERP in the UK, and then basically what we'll do is we'll then utilize the content that other sites. So it basically looks at all the H1s, the H2s, the depth of the content, and then we go from there. So at the same time, we're going to get Page Optimizer Pro going. So this is a new page. We do Page Optimizer Pro. So we want to do solar panels, and then it will be page path will be solar panels. I haven't built the page yet. I want it to do EEAT. We'll call it solar panels. Let's have a look at the advanced options. Okay, so what this process then goes and does is it basically it processes the target URL, it looks at the SERP, and then it basically will write us an article. So if we go back into here, has this one done? No, that one's not done yet. Okay. I'm not really sure that this is a good article actually, because it doesn't talk about the kind of type of solar panels that there are. So there's some subcategories that I would potentially include. There's one table in it. There's no bullet points. There's no image. So we'll ask it to visualize. Okay. I was quite heavily using this Income Stream Surfer dude's prompts, and what I found was it was interlinking really nicely between the different articles, but it was actually focusing on interlinking rather than the content. And so what it wasn't doing was optimizing the content. So that is one of the challenges with doing things like this. Right, so as it stands, we've got this long form article here. So this is giving us a complete breakdown, definition, importance, history, how solar panels work, the type of solar panels, components of a solar panel system, environmental impact, etc., etc. I mean, that to me looks like a pretty thorough article. What I would say, US Department of Energy, not so keen on that. I would say that the paragraphs are all a bit samey, and it doesn't incorporate, I guess it's got some here, but there's not many bullet points, there's no tables in it. You've obviously got the kind of table of contents, which is obviously a good feature. But for me, the kind of depth of the content is a bit lacking. And obviously what we could do is we could have the individual pages for each of these, so we could have this, linking out. And that's, I suppose that's the purpose of pillar content, but it doesn't really, I'd be expecting a couple of paragraphs about each of these things. It's a good article, but I think it's tried to squeeze it into one output. That's kind of my takeaway. So let's do the next one. And it's interesting, this really shows you the difference that you can get in terms of the outputs. And this is purely down to the prompts, because you could bet your bottom dollar that all of these are, I know that Keyword Spy is, they're all using SEO Co-Pilot, they're all using ChatGPT in the background, right? So let's see how this is getting on. Right, so that's now completed. So what we then do is go into this. So, this is a high competition keyword. So obviously we're not going to be realistically optimizing for this. If you rank for that keyword, it's worth 15 grand. I think it's worth quite a lot more than that. It's got quite high SERP. Search volumes, as we can see, so 60,000. Google Ads competition, solar panel system is very low. Surely, if you had any sense, you'd be bidding for that term. Might be a bit, but it's still a tough niche, right? So, but the keyword that we're trying to secure is obviously solar panels, because this is going to be the pillar content. Then below that, we're going to have the kind of supporting articles that will help this content to rank. And I don't expect to rank for solar panels, but obviously what we're going to then try and do is rank for solar panels in different geographic locations and so on and so forth. So that's the kind of process. So keyword discovery is the process. So this gives us all this information, which is obviously very, very helpful. And we can obviously export this information. Again, this is all building out our kind of thought process on how we approach this niche, how we go about building out the content, solar power cost. That's still a very competitive keyword from a pay-per-click perspective, and it's got a decent number of searches. So yeah, we'd be looking, commercial solar panel installation, incredibly expensive, but low competition. So, you probably want to be looking at that as a keyword. Anyway, we'll go into that later, but this is the kind of process that we typically want to go through. And then what we're going to do after your report is done, then basically what we can do is optimize your SEO content, right? So we're going to basically, so we are going to do solar panels. So it's going to do another keyword report. I think this is my fault rather than Okay, project. We haven't got that one in here yet, but that's fine. And these are basically all the testing options that it does. So it looks at BERT, it looks at ramp brain, etc., etc. I'm not going to do all those. Maybe we'll do the neural one. Right, so what this is then going to go away and do is basically build an opinion on the SERP, and it will tell you how complicated or not the content needs to be. So we'll leave that running whilst we go back into Page Optimizer Pro. Okay, so we're going to open the report. Clearly, we don't actually have an optimization score, so we need, according to Page Optimizer Pro, we need a target of 2,973 words. We need 10 page sections, and these are the titles that we need to include. So the page title, the subheadings, the main content, etc., etc. So what we're now going to do is we're going to write with the AI writer. And so the process that Page Optimizer Pro goes through is it generates your headings. So we're going to go through the process and we're going to do target word count. So basically we want to hit the target word count to achieve the objective. Right, so what we want to do is we want to include these. So we want 4 of those, italic terms, 3. I don't want any images. Right, saying between 18. Right, so let's do 18 images. Lists. So the way that this works is it basically generates all the elements of the content, and then you have to add these things in before. So forms, frequently asked questions, I like to use those. We probably want a table of contents. We want a meta description. We want an introduction paragraph. We want those. Right, so this will now look at the competition. So you can look at 3 of the competition. Eon Energy Saving Trust. I'm not sure that that's the right article. That's probably a better article. It's just that Money Saving Expert is more of a kind of comparison site. So, right, so tone, we want professional, and then we want a solar panel expert, and then our brand is Biotech Renewables. Okay, so we're not going to do that. Right, so now we're starting the process, and it's going to take a couple of minutes for each of these. So we'll let that run its process, and while it's doing that, we will go into Biotech Renewables. I'm going to shut that page. Okay, so SERP difficulty is 97, according to, this is Neuronwriter we're back with. We're going to go into this, and we're going to basically get it to generate. So what this does is it looks at the content score, it looks at the length. Money Saving Expert will probably pull that out because it's obviously got some kind of blockage in there. And then basically, so we'll go with the top 11 because we've taken number 2 out. So for the purpose of this exercise, these are the ones that it will consider. And effectively what it's building is designing what content that we need to be incorporating in the site, in our page, to be ranking for this keyword. Now, as we talked about, our domain authority is very low at the moment. You know, it's a brand new domain. So we're probably not going to be ranking for this keyword, certainly in the short term. We might in the future, but obviously what we need to be doing is creating this pillar content so that we've got high quality content on the page. Okay, so what I'm going to now get it to do is we need to, basically what we have to do, the way that Neuronwriter works is it basically builds a title. So what we want to do is we want to do solar panel, obviously. How much do solar panels cost? A comprehensive guide. Might be slightly too long. Let's call it a guide. There we go. Right. So obviously what we can see is all of the, which is commonly known as solar power. Okay, so we've got the key elements. So we've got solar panel, PV, and solar power. And then what we're then going to do is, so we need to look at terms in article. Right, one click, there we go, found it. Okay, generation. So this is using GPT. I want it to use GPT-4. I don't care that they don't want me to do that. There we go. So this, in theory, should now get us a score of around 70, according to Neuronwriter. But now we're going to go back to Page Generator Pro. So I want it to rewrite, Page Optimizer Pro. So I want it to do that. And apologies that this is a slightly long-winded video, but hopefully you will see the quality of the content once Page Optimizer Pro is done. So this one's running. Right, so what have we got here? So we've now got a visualization. Yeah, so what I will do is put all of this content. I'm going to copy it verbatim. Typical. Request failed. It might be that my API key needs updating. In fact, let me just update that. Oh no, there we go. Right. So that gives us a score of 74. Now, $71. I mean, that's a decent piece of content. It doesn't have any tables in it. It hasn't got any bullet points. So from an engagement perspective, it isn't exactly what I'd be looking for. There's obviously no images. It's a decent piece of content. It's probably not long enough. Let's have a look at if we go back. So it's hit quite a few of these. I think we could easily get, for example, we could put solar energy in here. So that's a H2, so that will tick that one off. So we can see 783 and the top 10 is 2,605. So for me, the length of this content is not long enough. That would be my takeaway. Where's my article? Right, so this has now generated all of our headings. We'll just use the ones that is. So we're moving on to the next step in the AI. I want the AI to generate my main content. So it's going through the process. And obviously we can see that there is, our optimization score at the moment is about 54. Obviously our word count is low because we've only got the titles in there. A page title, sub, and the main content is being optimized as we speak. So obviously with Neuronwriter you get a certain number of points. Obviously the software itself will do as we saw, it will do a long form article as we talked about, and we can see how many of the credits that we've used versus the total allowable. I'm just not 100% sure. I mean, maybe what we could do is we could do FAQ with unused terms. Let's see if that makes a difference. So there's ways of expanding the content. I don't want to, kind of be negative against Neuronwriter. So there we go. So we've now got a few more of the. There we go. So we've got a nice piece of content now. I mean, to me, it doesn't feel long enough. So it's 1,100 words. You probably want a bit more content in there. Obviously, the income stream surface content, I think it's pretty clear that that's probably the loser of this. This one, the long form article writer, it feels a bit light. I don't like it. we've got this, so it's what I'm going to do is include, so please complete the answers to the FAQs. What I'm going to do is use Google Docs. And we're just going to do a word count. So we'll keep it as my opinion versus word count. So if we go back up to the top, we'll just do this. We'll include the description. There's going to be a bit. Okay, so let's have a look at tools, word count. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, what have we got here? 1, 1, 3, 6. Let's do another one. 660. Not long enough. And I'm pretty sure that the income stream surfers one's going to be even shorter. Which wasn't the point of his. He was very determined that that wasn't going to be the case. So anyway, tools, word count, 582. Okay, so we've now got an article that's ranking 81 from Neuronwriter, which can obviously be I think it's still available on AppSumo, but you've got something there which is decent. For me, it does need building out a bit, so you probably want some tables in there. You probably want some lists, a bit more kind of engaging content. Right, we haven't looked at keywords by, so what I'm going to do is we've done a report. So now what we're going to do is generate an article. So we want a high quality article. The company is Biotech Renewables, and we'll say we're at the top of the sales cycle. We want the title and the meta description. We want the heading, and then okay, so that's now running. So in theory, what this should do is basically pull us out an article. Right, where's Page Optimizer Pro up to? Right, so the annoying thing about Page Optimizer Pro is it doesn't just create the lists for you. So what you have to do is, so it does the introductory paragraphs, etc., etc. But what you have to do is then go and create a list for each section. And I just don't understand it. I don't know why it can't just do it for you. But anyway, we have to manually go and generate each of these. And obviously this can take a little bit of time. So what I'll probably do is just pause here and then get all these articles completed. But the negative for Page Optimizer Pro is obviously that you have to go through this process. But we'll pause here. Okay, so this has taken a little while, probably about 20 minutes, half an hour. I've been doing other things as well at the same time, but just had this running in the background. So effectively what this is doing is it creates a table of content. So this is Page Optimizer Pro that we're using here. It gives you a meta description, gives you introductory paragraphs, and then goes into the content. Now, the problem with it is it basically gives you the option to generate a list, and then you have to manually insert what you want the list to be about, which for me is a bit counterintuitive. So maybe an improvement on the system could be that you should get AI to automatically generate all of these lists, because otherwise it takes quite a lot of time. And you know, the lists are good when they're generated, so you can look at your energy savings, etc., etc. But it's a bit of a pain in the arse, to just put it bluntly. So I think this is, I'm not sure if this one's any good. Anyway, we'll look at the content. This is what's generated. It will probably need a bit of revision because it's all in dollars. So if we click on check optimization score, this will tell us, there we go. So we've got an optimization score of 100. So what I was then going to do is download the article, and I want it as HTML. So what this will do is then, there we go, spit me out a HTML article. And we've got a pretty thorough piece of content there. So I have, as you can see, Page Optimizer Optimizer Pro content. Right, so why is that not? There we go. Right. There's a problem with retrieving one of the images. Whatever. Doesn't matter. So, but for all intents and purposes, word count. Wow, 6,700 words. Wow. So it's not actually pulled through the images. Basically what it's left is placeholders for images. So this is where it's suggesting would be good places for images. So, I mean, this is pretty thorough in terms of content. Probably a bit too thorough, to be honest. But that's that. So that's the content that it's generated. For me, at this point in time, it's a clear winner. Next, we've got SEO Co-Pilot. So what I want to do is, so this is the piece of content that it generated automatically. This is the URL that it reckons that you should use, the title, description. So we've got all of these elements that it gives us. I don't know why it's used third party. That wouldn't have been, I'd have used, anyway, whatever. The point being is we are now going to give it a semantic score, and it's not high enough. So the point of this is that we want something that is high enough. And this is where I've struggled with this piece of software. And if Josh sees this, let me know, because helpful EEAT is good, our predictability length is good, but the content is just not good enough. It's not long enough. So use our advanced AI to increase it. But the point of this exercise is this is what it's supposed to do in the first place. And now it's generated some more content. In fact, what I might do is just close that and copy this. And I think I've already done it, but I just want to make sure. So keywords by SEO Pilot, Co-Pilot, and the word count of this content is 451 words. So what have we got? Page Optimizer Pro clearly wins this for me. It's just the depth of the content. It does take more time to generate the content, so there is an argument that maybe Josh from Keyword Spy would argue that I don't know what I'm doing with their piece of software, but it needs to be intuitive and it needs to be quick. Neuronwriter's obviously done quite a good job, and that's a nice clean piece of content. It's scored quite highly, but again, I think it's still a bit light. We want 2,500 words. So for me, this is the winner. I think Neuronwriter's probably second, Keyword Spy probably third, and then the GPTs behind that. So hopefully that was a useful exercise to go through. If you don't have some of these tools, I will include links to them so you can go and try them for yourself. But yeah, hopefully you found that interesting, and it was a worthwhile exercise to see. So I'll be using probably a mixture of some of this content for the website. I probably won't include all of these lists. I think they're a bit too long. But fundamentally it's pretty good. Oh, another thing to note as well, on Page Optimizer Pro, you do have to buy credits. So I've got 40 credits left, and you probably get, it's about £1 an article. So it's not too expensive given the quality, but there is a cost associated with it, whereas with the others, obviously they're all included in the various plans that I have. So hopefully that was useful, and I look forward to your thoughts and feedback. If you could use the term AI content in the keywords in any comments that you make on the video, that would be most appreciated. But hopefully you've now seen the process that I would go through to generate the pillar content for the website, for the renewables website. Have a good one. I'll speak to you soon. Bye.